Okay, well, apparently you're supposed to point the camera in the direction you're recording before you record an entire video. So here's to take two. I'm lying. This is like take 10. So welcome to take 10. Let's get right to the point. Today we're talking about 7 questions that you should be able to answer if you have a decent understanding of your own personal finances, which you absolutely should have. But if you are like most Americans, you might not, and it might just be a simple math equation of I make money and I spend money, and that's where the buck stops. I need an applause button because that was where the buck stops. Talking about money. Anyway, question 1 is how much money do you make? And when we ask this question, we're referring to net. How much money do you make? Not gross. So gross is the amount that'll show up on your job offer. Looks nice, right? It's a nice big number. Net is what you actually get after the man ravishes your paycheck. So if you don't know how to find it, you look at your W-2 statement and look for the smaller number. I'm kidding. Well, it is smaller. But look for, there's a category on there that says net amount, and that's the amount that you're actually taking home after you pay taxes and all that. So that's the one that matters, again, because that's what you're taking home. So if you're single, you just need to look at your own. But if you're married, you need to look at yourself and your spouse, because the goal here is to find out your household income, what we're bringing in every month. So that's question 1. Pretty straightforward. Can be done in 5 to 10 minutes at the most. That leads us to question 2. And this is going to be how much do you spend every month? So unfortunately, there's no getting around this. If there is, please let me know because I haven't found a way. But it's just in a budget. At least 3 months, maybe longer if you want. It depends on how detailed you want it to be. If you go for a longer time period, you'll have more months. That'll give you more data points and give you a more accurate average. I did 3 months, and I'd say I was pretty detailed about it. Obviously, I hit all the big ticket items, my housing, my car expenses, daycare, things like that. But I wasn't tracking small things like if I took my son to get a haircut and he wanted a piece of bubble gum out of the gumball machine for a quarter, right? I'm not going to track the quarter. I'm going to track that haircut though. So the level of detail is up to you. Again, that affects how accurate it's going to be. The more detailed you are, the more accurate it's going to be. But for me, if I was 90% there, I can live with that. Question 3 is very simple. You're just going to take the answer from question 1. So what's your household income, net, minus question 2, what is your average monthly expense? And that'll answer question 3, which is what is left over. And this is important here, right? Because we call that the gap. So that's where wealth can be created. That's where you can improve your life, is that gap that you have of leftover money that actually belongs to you after everything is said and done. You want that to be as large as possible. So we're just looking right now for a starting point, a baseline. That's the purpose of answering these questions. We want to see exactly what our gap looks like. If there is a gap, right? If there's not a gap, we have other things to discuss, and those will be probably involved in looking at 1 and 2 again. How can I increase my income for 1, and how can I decrease my expenses for number 2? But hopefully that's not your situation right now. Let's go on to question number 4. Do you have an emergency fund? And I'm sure you've heard this a million times. And you're going to hear variations of it. Some people say you need 3 months, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, whatever the case is. This is up to you, I believe. For me, it was 3 months. And I based it on several factors. And you should probably do the same, right? And factor 1 should be, are you a single income family or a dual income family? If you're a dual income, maybe it doesn't need to be as high because there's 2 people bringing in money. So if one loses their job, the other one can hopefully help carry you with a smaller emergency fund. But if it's only 1 income and you lose that single income, then you have a problem. So I would have a larger emergency fund. Other things to consider would be, do you have children? Are your expenses high at the time? How reliable are your jobs? Are they seasonal? Are they contractual? Are you at will? Or is your employment pretty secure? So I would consider all those factors. And then at the end of the day, it's what you're comfortable with. Again, for me, 3 months seemed to do it. My wife and I had, we're both employed and we're pretty secure. So that worked out just fine for me. Question 5, does your employer have a 401k with a match? Okay. And if they do, you absolutely need to take advantage of that match. Because if you don't, you are literally leaving money on the table, money that they already factored into your salary. So you're effectively saying to your employer, thank you for the offer, but I'll continue to do the same amount of work for 4 to 5% less than what you offered. Thank you very much. That doesn't make any sense, right? So if you're not sure if your employer has that, you can reach out to the HR department and they should be able to get you squared away relatively easily. It shouldn't take much. Ask me if you have a 401k with the match and then how you can get enrolled. That leads us to question number 6. What are your short-term and what are your long-term money goals? Because just like you have money assigned to an emergency fund, the rest of your money needs to have a mission, needs to have a job as well. So you have the emergency fund. The job of that money is to protect you. It's a safety net in case things go wrong, because inevitably they do go wrong. That's their job. So the rest of the money needs to be assigned as well. So for your short term, I would consider anything 0 to 3 years short term. Are you looking at buying a house? Is there a graduation coming up or a wedding or anything like that? Or do you need a new vehicle? Let me rephrase that. Do you need a more reliable used vehicle than what you currently have? Because you don't need a new vehicle. You can buy something that is slightly used and more reliable if your car is currently leaving you stranded on the side of the road a couple times a week. Um, that's doable. That's a short-term goal. What are your long-term goals, right? Long-term goals we consider basically retirement. So from 3 years on, how much money do you want to have stashed away? This can also vary by your current age. Maybe you're 10 years from retirement, 15, 20, maybe you're 2 years from retirement, right? But you need to be putting something away regardless of your age. The younger you are, that money has more of an impact because it has longer to grow. So those are all things to consider for your short-term and your long-term goals, which brings us to our last question, question 7. And this is, what is your net worth? And just to be clear, that is not just something for rich people, right? It sounds like something rich people do. What is their net worth statement? No, it's for everybody. You should know what your net worth is. For me personally, it's been a great help. I started my financial independence journey about 4 years ago, and tracking my net worth, I do it quarterly, has helped me because it's been a long 4 years. Like there's been so many times where I'm just like, man, this is not going as fast as I wanted to, or it's taking forever, or this person is doing so much better than me. There's so many emotions that can get involved that can really distract you from what you're trying to achieve. But looking at a net worth statement every quarter or twice a year or once a year, whatever you decide to do, can help you when you can see that progress. You can see that the small changes you're making are truly having a big effect over time. So I highly recommend that. I use something called Empower. It's free to set up. It does take a little while to set up because you have to link all your accounts, but once that's done, it tracks it for you. Once a quarter you log in there, oh man, I've grown by X amount of dollars, and it feels really good and can help you keep pushing when you really don't feel like it. So that wraps it up. 7 questions that you should hopefully be able to answer. And if you don't, you can legitimately find the answer today and have the answers by the end of the day. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know below how many questions you were able to answer. I was able to answer about 2 of them. Yeah, 2 questions when I first started. And that was how much we made and what was left. Everything else I had to figure out. So hopefully do a little better than me. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.